Hello, you are listening to Talk the Line. I'm Jen Long. This is our weekly podcast where I talk to a musician about their secret obsession, that thing that they do outside of music and they don't normally tell reporters like myself. We upload a new episode every Friday and you can check out all our previous episodes at talktheline.blog. You can scroll right down and check out some of the early ones with the likes of Johnny Flynn on psychogeography, Ardney from the Vaccines on something that happened in Iceland once, and Alex Cameron on relationships. You can follow us on Twitter at TalkTheLine, and you can follow me at Jen Long. And it is easy to subscribe to this podcast and will make us very happy. Stella Donnelly was raised in Wales before moving to Australia at the age of 10. 15 years later, she's one of her adopted country's brightest musical hopes, abandoning her plans to study social work at university in favour of signing to legendary indie label Secretly Canadian. She's an honest and confrontational lyricist with signature track Boys Will Be Boys, addressing victim blaming and written to the rapist of her friend. It features on Stella's debut EP, which gets a reissue this month, and was originally put out on Melbourne's Healthy Tapes label last year, selling out 4 cassette pressings. We sat together in a park to talk about the menstrual cycle, and apologies, this podcast is just 90% of me and Stella having a giggle. It's just 90% of my laugh. It's really obnoxious, but it is a really amusing chat. Enjoy! Are we talking about how to empower your period?
Not empower your period, that your period is empowered enough. It causes us enough trouble. It's definitely empowered enough. No, I went through, it's about optimizing your life around your menstrual cycle. So, the period's just a quarter of that pie, that I've learnt about. So, growing up, I got my period, and it was, a thing that I would see as, the menstrual cycle is just one thing, once a month you go through this one thing, and that's all it is. And I found that, a lot of my life was spent wondering why all of a sudden my moods had changed around this time, or why in a certain week I'd been far more productive, and all of these things. And I was just like, I found myself not on the linear, on that linear scale that I think humans. We have this pressure to be quite linear, I feel, to be very constant all the time, and to stay the same.
Productive Monday to Friday.
Yeah, party on the weekends. Yeah, chill, whatever.
So I'm. This is 30s versus 20s.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. But yeah, I just felt like I wasn't fitting into that, and I was working in a very male-dominated environment as well. I was playing in a band full of boys, and I was confused because they'd remained quite linear. Obviously men have absolute cycles in certain ways as well, but I just felt like I wasn't fitting in as much. So I found this book called The Optimized Woman by Miranda Gray, and it's talked about the 4 phases and how you can really, I guess, it explains a lot more about who you are and the cycles you go through, and it just gave me a bit of comfort, really, knowing that there are certain reasons for why I felt certain ways and everything like that. And this could be physiological in certain weeks, in certain phases. We've got different pain thresholds, different temperatures, different blood pressure, all of those things, and different oil in our skin and all of that sort of stuff. Oil levels and stuff. But then there's also the psychological cycle as well, and I just found it incredible.
Okay. Which bit should we delve into first?
Well,
skin oil levels?
Yeah, skin oil levels.
What's your pH today?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. See, I as soon as I read all the physiological stuff, I was like, yep, cool, great. Give me some mental information.
Yeah.
So straight away I delved into what the 4 phases are.
Okay.
I love my my pie charts or whatever it is. So I was like, okay, give me some info.
Are you quite regular then? You're like
I mean, I go through phases of being irregular and
like
regular.
Travel and things like that, and like stress.
Yeah,
can,
they really affect
people,
yes.
can't they? Yeah, and I suppose you do a lot of that as a musician. Like, it must be some like stressful moments, like on tour and stuff, and not having like an actual routine that.
Totally. So it is quite variable, but I'm speaking in terms of having, a regular menstrual period. So, you've got your 29 days, I guess.
29 is it?
29, yeah.
I thought it was 28.
28 days.
I don't know.
Mine's 29, but it can be 28, 27 to
I just always like take the day and then go 1, 2, 3, 4 down the calendar. So that would be 28.
Yeah.
7, 14, 21, 28.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. So 28 days. I mean, for me, my period goes for an extra day.
Ooh.
So I have to start, which is great fun, Why not add an extra day of pain?
No.
But
wait.
so mine's...
No, but you get like an extra day of not being on your period then.
Yeah. No, so I always have so it goes from... I'm really confused now. We've confused each other. We've confused
Because you have
each
to
other.
you count from the day it starts.
Yes.
And if I count 28 forward, then that's the day my next one starts.
Yes.
But you count 29. So you get an extra day off.
Okay, that's good. I always just count it as me having my period for a long time. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm counting it wrong.
How long does yours usually last?
About 7 days.
Yeah, it's standard.
Yeah, 7 days. Really?
Yeah.
Everyone tells me they only get theirs for 5 days.
Yeah, it's like 3 days intense,
Yeah.
like 2 days and then like those 2 last days where you're like not quite sure.
Yeah, you're not quite sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. See,
you're
I
like-
get an extra day of not quite sure.
It's just like
Yeah.
basically just a week of not going swimming for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Too nervous.
Yeah, totally.
In the pool at Shoreditch House in front
Yeah.
of all these like sunbathing hipsters. It's like the last thing that you need, isn't it?
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, well look, it's definitely, try being Australian,
Shit.
try being down the beach. But yeah, it's quite interesting. So I always start in the period, so you've got that week, and that's called the reflective phase. So when you're menstruating, your womb lining and all of that. I know, right? So we don't have to talk about the physiological side of it.
But it is the worst bit.
It is the worst bit.
Yeah.
But here's the big but.
Okay.
This is called the reflective phase because we do drop in energy levels. We do drop in those things, and the pain and whatever, whether or not you have pain or not. But generally your energy levels drop, and you have this kind of, you need a bit of time, and things are a bit harder. Tasks are a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Certain things, and I find that. Like for me anyway, I found that I was struggling to just do the normal things, like responding to emails and stuff. I just felt like I just didn't have the emotional energy to do it. So, but it also allowed me to have some reflection time. If you have the luxury of being able to give yourself a day off, or give yourself an afternoon off, or maybe have half a morning off or something like that, to reflect and kind of have that time. I found that it really helped, and it explained a lot for me as to why I wasn't getting enough done in that week.
So like reflecting as in, can that reflection still be productive? Like reflecting as in,
yeah, because
like figuring out problems with your like schedule or work.
Yeah,
that you
exactly, and knowing that certain tasks aren't sustainable, all the time, and that we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves at certain times to maintain this kind of level of productivity and everything like that. So I found that that week I've now started knowing, I'm like, okay, I probably sleep in. I might have a couple of sleep-ins this week, especially if I'm on tour. I know that I need to, take a bit of extra care and that sort of thing. So there's that week, right?
That's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you've got week 2, which is like very exciting. That's your dynamic phase.
Ooh.
Yes. So week 2 is your dynamic phase, and that's when you've kind of gotten over it, and you're ready for life, and you're ready for everything. And you do become quite pragmatic because you've kind of gone through this reflective phase. And you just get a lot done. You've got high energy, you're active, and you're not emotional. I find it's always the week that I would sign up to something like a pottery class or some sort of boxing.
No, I did. I remember reading that the best time to start a new exercise regime was like 5 days after your period started.
Yes, totally. So this is the time when you're just getting a lot done, and you might not be as emotional. And I think it says in the book as well that is when we are the most, typically, I'm using this thing right now,
air quotes.
air quotes. Yeah. Typically masculine, phase of our cycle, because we haven't got as much, as many hormones kind of floating around, because we've had the big flush of hormones. After the
estrogen just disappears.
It disappears, and there's a bit of testosterone and progesterone happening in our bodies. So that's when we are the most typically, air quotes again, typically male and linear, and we have that really pragmatic mind. And this is me being very nice to men and just saying all men are very pragmatic minded. Here we are.
Yeah, I'm sure men have non-pragmatic phases.
Oh, absolutely. I did try and Google the male cycle, but all that came up was photos of the Tour de France. So I'm sure I'll find something.
That's so good.
That's all I found. But there are definitely male cycles out there. We'll get to the bottom of that in the next podcast, I'm sure. But yeah, we just initiate action more in that week, So that's from day 7 to 13 of our cycles, okay? And then we move into our expressive phase. So that's the ovulation. That's when we are the most, air quote, typically female in our, feminine. It's when the egg is, the egg comes out and we want to be typically impregnated.
Yep.
And we essentially, our skin, it glows. We get better skin. We become, far more feminine. I always feel just pretty loving, and I go out and buy gifts, and I do stupid. I find myself buying like dumb shit and just like getting dumb cookies or something for someone, and I'm just like, what's happening?
What phase am I in right now?
Yeah, let's find out what phase
you're
you're in. Let's find out.
Hang on a sec. Now I know. So it's gonna start on the 22nd, I think, because I know it's
Yes.
So once, I think, oh my god, this is so weird. I'm definitely in that bit right now.
You're in the expressive phase.
You'll never guess what I did yesterday.
What did you do?
I bought someone a little cake because I saw on Facebook it was their birthday. And so I was like, shit, this makes way too much sense.
Oh my god.
We went to record a podcast yesterday
Yes.
with an artist, and I saw just before I was leaving that it was the PR's birthday.
Yeah.
And so I bought a little cupcake from Waitrose,
There
and
you
I was
go.
like, happy birthday!
Oh, that is so sweet of you. But, and look,
But hang on,
it's
the
also
money.
because you're a really nice person. It's not just because you're in your expressive phase, and it's also the time when we just want to have sex. So I'm not going to ask you about that. I'm not going to ask you about that, Jen. But it's the time when we're just we're loving. We think about others. We think about our relation to others. We smell the bloody roses. And sorry for using bloody. We'll get to the bloody part. We've done the bloody part already. We don't need to hear about that anymore. But it's when we are like we're the most feminine, I guess.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah,
I did feel like I had a spring in my step this morning, I'm not going to lie.
Yes, awesome. That's great.
Wow.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. So, that's, if you look at your calendar now, you can, look at where you'll be. And it's not just when you get your period, you've got your other weeks, and when you might get a lot done. And
Wait, we haven't done the 4th week. Sorry, no,
so the
we
4th week is coming.
finished this week,
So,
have we?
so the expressive phase,
Yeah.
ovulation, that is. So, be careful having sex around this time as well, if you can
I'm
get.
covered.
Yep, from day 14 to day 20, thereabouts, day 21, day 14 to day 21. And then, so I use this anecdote and I always remember this anecdote, with my boyfriend, in the expressive phase, I'm lying in bed next to him and he's asleep and I'm just looking at him and he's just beautiful, he's perfect, his skin and everything, you're just so loving and it's gorgeous and you just can't get enough, I love this person. And then next week, you're just kind of like, oh, it's a bit hot in this bed, isn't it? Can you get your feet off me, please?
Oh my God,
can
yes.
you just all right, I've had enough, can you just, actually, can you just go and sleep on the couch? Can you, I'm just done. You know what, you're actually irritating me. So this is when we go into our creative phase, otherwise known as PMS. So this is the 4th magic phase, but I think it's a very affectionately named creative phase, which I love.
That's nice.
And it's, we've got an active desire and drive still. I find that I don't need to sleep as much, and I feel like I need to move, and I've got this kind of, but it sometimes can come out in frustration. So touring sometimes in a long drive, I need to kind of get out and do some star jumps, otherwise I'll yell at my manager, you know, or for nothing. He'll just take one too many Pringles, and you know, so I know in myself that I need to kind of really make sure I let out a lot of that adrenaline, and because your body's frustrated because you haven't gotten pregnant because you're getting your period, and you're PMSing and your body's punishing you. No, that's my theory. I don't think that's real. But you know, I just think and the creative phase is also when we have a lot of insight, and I find that I actually write songs when I'm PMSing, because I'm able to articulate my frustration, and I'm able to kind of like, if it's a song about being frustrated or about something, but I feel like I'm able to articulate, you know, certain things. So and that can come out in art, it can come out in just wanting to hang out with certain people that you know will stimulate that sort of creative thinking. You don't have to be a creative person to have a creative phase. You could just go to a place that you know stimulates you. So I think PMS is a really magical week, even though it can be quite difficult. And you know, you find that I always feel really ugly in that week, and I always feel like I'm not ugly, but I just feel like I don't have my shit together. I can never decide what to wear because your brain, you're not really using that side of your brain as much. So this is all sounding very hippy dippy. I understand that this is all very like, I can hear the people, you know, calling in, you know, going, line of best fit, going, where is her evidence? Where is her scientific study in this? This woman doesn't know what she's talking about.
We're okay, because I'm pretty sure most of the men have already switched off.
Okay, true, fair enough. That's a perfect thing to say, because that leads me to my next thing. There's an amazing performer in Perth, where I'm from, Fremantle, in Australia, called Lucy Peach, and she's got this fringe festival show called My Greatest Period Ever, and I brought my boyfriend along to it, and she does it with her husband Richard, and he does all these beautiful amazing kind of graphics, and he draws live while she does the speech about it. She talks about the 4 phases, and we left, and you know, it was hilarious and brilliant, and we left, and I was like, oh, how was that, to my boyfriend, and he was like, that was amazing. I've just learned so much about you. And he's like, now I get it. And he'll kind of be, he'll sense something in me, and he's like, oh, you're getting your period soon, love. Like, are you okay?
I've learned that is not the thing to say.
It's not a good thing to say, but he does it in a way that just like brings me back to reality. But yeah, I know that is a pretty bad thing to say.
I've definitely got that in an argument before, and it did not go down well.
I know, I said it to my mum once, and she threw a corn on the cob at me while she was cooking. She'd asked me to get off the computer about 7 times to set the table, and I was on Habbo Hotel probably.
Are you in the creative phase?
Yeah, exactly. Shut up! I'll put you in the creative phase in a minute. Yeah.
So is Miranda Gray like a really big author in Australia?
No, this is just a random book that like, I don't even know where she's from.
Is it
but
just
this book,
like?
Yeah, you can get it online. You can get it as an ebook. You can get it.
But you've read it, and like your friend who's the stand-up, is it just like a thing that's in all the libraries in Perth? Or?
It must be, but it's not really something that's talked about as much.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of people like have walked out of the Lucy's shows going, oh my God, I get it now. And I think it's and I would love for there to be more, you know, more studies into it and more teachings than there probably are, so that, you know, young girls can kind of like learn. And also, I really don't want to sound like I'm being very exclusive here. I understand that not all women have menstrual cycles, and not all women get their periods. So apologies if I'm generalizing women here, but and some men get their periods. So it's one of those things. So I am speaking in terms of women with menstrual cycles.
Yeah, and not all men are actually. I feel like me and producer Paul were having a discussion before you came here about like most men I feel are just not grossed out about it anymore.
That's really nice.
I feel like most guys are just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, whereas I feel like when I was growing up, it was like period
taboo.
And taboo. You weren't supposed to talk about it.
And I think that's crazy when 50% of the population thereabouts go through it. But why is it something that we can't talk about? You know, and I just think that's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that men have a lot to learn from the menstrual cycle, and I feel like because we have a lot of insight when you go through these different phases. Variety allows you to learn, and it allows you to kind of learn about yourself. So yeah, I think, you know, you're on this linear plane and there's that expectation of being, you know, very constant all the time. And whereas like, I think there's something really powerful in being able to kind of like go through these changes, whether they're painful or not, you know. I just think it's really cool.
And what have you like learnt from this? Have you ever tried to like structure your months around it and be like, this week I know I've got like a studio session booked.
Yes.
I'm going to make sure it's in this specific
Yeah.
week. Or you're like, I've got to do a lot of press, so I'm going to make sure it's in this specific week.
Yeah, I mean, I use an app called Clue, which is like you can put it all in and you can like mark it, and it really like it helps you kind of like keep a calendar and stuff like that of
Yeah.
it. But yeah, and it does. I do know. I often, before I go on a big tour, like I've been away for about 3 months traveling, so I've gone through three different phases, 3 different cycles,
Yeah.
and I find that I do get pretty homesick around the time of my period, and I often just do little things to like, yeah, have a taste of home when I'm PMSing right now.
Oh,
You
yeah.
probably can't tell. I'm not yelling at you yet, Jen, but you know, who knows? Who knows? But you know, I'm going into that phase now, and I'm going to be. It's funny. I'm going home to Wales actually to just spend some time with my family. And Mum's like, okay, I've got all these things planned for us. You know, we're doing all this thing, and I'm going, I know that's going to be a tough week, Mum. I know it's going to. And she knows. She's like, okay, that's fine. We'll take it easy then, love.
Did you explain this stuff to your mum then?
Yeah, and Mum found it really interesting. Yeah. Mum found, and it explained stuff for her. And you know, obviously there's so many variables, but I just think it's been an overwhelming amount of, you know, relatability with, you know, with so many women that I speak to, and they'll often, like my best friends and stuff, will, you know, they'll come over and be like, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm feeling this way. And I'll be like, have you checked your cycle, kind of thing? And they're like, oh, that makes sense. Yes, okay, great. I'm going to go and write a song, or I'm going to go and, you know, paint something, and it just it helps.
What are the best activities to do over the 4 weeks?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Like,
so,
have you ever thought about that?
yeah, like say you were just like at home, say you were on holiday and you could just do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, like a month.
Yeah.
You're going on holiday for a month.
And
How
you're
do
doing
you
nothing.
plan out your activities day by day?
Yeah, well, look, I think, you know, your reflective phase is relaxing, Netflix, whatever, Stan, whatever you want to use. And, you know, you're just kind of chilling out, looking after yourself, you know, reflecting on life, staring out the window, doing what you need to do. And then dynamic phase, you do a big hike. You go up, you do a hike, you come up with all these ideas for what you're going to do next, you know, in the next few weeks, which you probably won't end up doing, but that's okay. Pottery classes, whatever. And then week 3, you just have sex all the time, or do whatever you need to do. Have sex with yourself, do whatever. buy little cakes for friends, and you know, do what you need to do. And yeah, I think that's probably explains expressive phase enough. And then in the 4th week, yeah, be creative, do some painting, be on your own, allow yourself to be on your own, I think, and be really honest with the people around you, you know, whether that's your family, your friends, or your partner. Be honest and just be like, hey, look, I think I might need to just chill tonight and just like do this myself, and sometimes you just need that one night to just have that, and then you're okay. So yeah, they're my little activities, I reckon.
Throw some activities at you and you can be like,
which phase?
Yeah, which
that's
phase?
a great
Okay.
idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay.
go shopping for some shoes.
Ooh. Oh, you could do that in any phase, but I could do that in any phase. That's a really good one. I think expressive to creative. So in between, you just about to get PMS. So you've got that creative, so you've got that vision, you've got that eye, but you've got energy, and you know, you're happy.
Have a barbecue.
Have a barbecue. Have a barbecue when you're social. So I think that's expressive. So when you're, you know, you're going to find that any of the big activities are probably just going to be limited to probably about 2 weeks, and then the rest is just going to be on your own.
Watch all of the Lord of the Rings films.
Or reflective phase. Definitely reflective phase. Yes, for sure. I can't think of anything better than doing that in my reflective phase, actually. Yeah. Because you probably get bored. If you tried to do that in your dynamic phase, I reckon you'd get itchy feet. You'd just be like, okay, great, yep, done. All right, I need to go do something now. Yeah.
What else? I mean, we've been talking for 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
How are we going to fill up the bloody 45 minutes with this?
Bloody 45 minutes. We've got a bloody dog. Paul's got a bloody beer.
Yeah, that's it. We're all in the park. I'm okay, thanks, Paul. Cheers. I'm okay. I think.
No, I was going to say, what else is in the book? Because it's not a pamphlet, is it?
No, it's a big
like a
book. It's a big book, and it talks about, like, you know, active and passive. So, you know, you've got this active time, and that's generally when you're PMSing, so your creative phase, you're active, and then it's also when you're in your dynamic phase. So it's essentially the time between ovulation and menstruation is when your body isn't as busy trying to sort your reproductive system out, that you have this time to really optimize your life and become, you know, who you want to be and do what you want to do. That sounds so lame. Just be who you want to be, ladies. All right? Just do that.
Your friend's show, did she read this book and then write her show?
Yeah, she wrote and she writes, and she's a musician, so she sings. It's really great, actually. So she performs a song that she's written. I should have probably done that, shouldn't I? I don't want to take her whole show, poor Lucy. But she sings a different song that she wrote in different stages of her cycle.
Right.
So she's got this song called Be So Good, and it's the most beautiful love song ever, and you can guess what phase that was written in, you know.
I can't remember
but then
their
she's
names,
got some
though.
mad ones, you know, and then she's got some, so yeah, expressive phases when
Expressive is the
you're
loving
madly
phase.
fucking. Yeah. And yeah, so look, and I thought that was really great, and that was awesome because she was able to incorporate the music as part of that.
Yeah.
I know we're not really meant to be talking about music, but for me it always relates back. But when I'm, you know, playing, there are certain weeks in the tour where certain songs playing live, you know, you're playing every night, so you're playing these songs every night. So they do, in some sense, lose certain elements of, you know, endorphin release and stuff like that. But I can relate. You know, there are times when I can relate to the angrier songs so much better, and I can really be in that moment and perform those songs really mad. And then there are some weeks where I'm like, I'm not that mad. Like, I'm singing this, I'm swearing at all these poor people. Why did I write this? Like, I'm sorry, everyone. You know, really, I feel really terrible. I'm going, geez, I was really mad, wasn't I? And, you know, and then the love songs make more sense, and you know, and that kind of thing. And then, so I feel like it always relates back to how creatively it does play a part, you know.
Yeah, you could like do plan out like your entire album campaign around this.
Yeah.
And you could like plan out, like everything around, like you could be like, right, okay, well I should like definitely do all my press in this week where I'm like super
ready
friendly and like chatty and everything.
Totally.
And then
totally.
deal with all the artwork. Yeah. I'm super creative.
Yeah, totally. But that's the thing, right? That's the thing. We don't all have that, and I don't. That just wouldn't work. And that's the thing. Life just doesn't work like that, and we just have to really, you know, we have to just go about our jobs, or we have to go about what we do. But it's nice just knowing that that's probably why you're feeling that way. It's nice just having in the back of my mind, for me anyway, you know, I'm sitting on a flight feeling really agitated. It's nice knowing that there's a light at the end of that tunnel, and that it is just really probably only gonna go for a week. If you know, obviously there are different circumstances, but yeah, for me, and I'm probably a little bit OCD, so I love like gridding things out and going, oh yeah, so in that week I'm going to do that, and blah blah blah. Hyper organised probably isn't the best way to be either. But yeah,
loads about the mental stuff. I know, we're just being completely rained on by pollen.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the hay fever phase.
No.
That's the fifth one. No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
I've got a little bit, but it's not, this pollen apparently is fine. So.
Summer in London. It's beautiful.
It is nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Just like trees and doggos and people with beers.
It's amazing. I've never experienced this before, so it's great. It's raining in Perth right now, which is even better.
Yes! Fuck 'em!
Sucked in.
Yeah. But in terms of the physical stuff, like you were saying about like when you get hot, and there's like times sometimes when I'm like like get really hot at night, and I'm like,
Yes.
oh, and I thought it was my mattress, but
Yeah.
it totally wasn't.
Yeah, totally. Yes, and for me, and skin, like my skin, like I flare up like once a month. I just get, you know, and I'm 20 fucking 6. I should not be going through puberty again. You know, like it's ridiculous. I'm just like, I thought I was beyond this.
The like red spot that's
Yes.
really painful.
Yes.
But then nothing
And
comes
nothing
out
happens.
of it.
Yeah, it's like a dormant volcano.
Yeah.
It's like active volcano.
No,
Dormant.
but nothing ever comes out
Yeah,
of it.
right.
And you're like,
yeah.
what is this spot?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing here.
Yeah,
and then you're
totally.
like, oh, and you know
Leave
that
it
you shouldn't
alone.
touch it. You know you
Yeah.
should leave it alone.
Yes.
But then you never do.
No, you never do, and then it becomes this big thing all
This
week.
big greasy thing
Yes.
that like just, and then you get a scar, and then you realise you're a twat.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you go, great.
What
great.
period part is that? What period of the period is that in?
I
That's what
reckon
was gonna say.
it's all part of the creative phase. The creative phase brings a lot of stress.
Right.
So this is
okay.
before you. This is
So your
PMS.
skin's usually
PMS.
worse before your period.
Yeah, and you eat so much. You eat a lot. Your appetite goes up, and that's the other thing about the dynamic phase. Just after your period, I don't really have much of an appetite. I love food, but I just find that I'm like, yeah, cool, yep, eat this, eat that, whatever.
Yeah.
I just need to get my whatever job I'm doing, some fucking whatever I'm doing, some dumb boxing, hyper cycle training class that I'm doing, just for that week. Because I'm just, and my boyfriend can see it as well. He sees me go out the door in my bloody yoga pants, and he's going, oh, she's off. She's off doing something. She's signed up to calisthenics or something, you know.
I actually really like calisthenics.
Calisthenics are great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. I'm terrible at calisthenics. I'll never do it. But yeah, I think physiologically, you know, I think most women know your breasts get bigger before your period.
Mine's always stayed bloody same.
That's
It's just,
that's not a bad thing.
I would like bigger bosoms. I would like to have bigger boobs once a month.
Yeah, once a month, just have a taste of it. Taste of the big bosom life.
Instead of just these
Me-
little
trust
like,
me,
flaps.
me too. I've got mosquito bites
Yeah.
up here, so yeah, it's nice getting a taste of the womanly boobs. But you know, all of those things, and the pain threshold. I find that when I'm on my period, I don't know. I react to hot water differently, and I react to aches and pains.
Do you have a high pain threshold?
Not really,
Right,
no.
yeah.
So I'm a bit of a pixie anyway, but I think it gets even more. I feel things hurt a lot more. Like if I pluck my eyebrows while I'm on my period, I'm just a mess.
Really?
It's fucking agony. It's torture.
Because I remember seeing recently on the news that they discovered that the pain some people get from their period is like the equivalent of a heart attack.
Yeah, that was actually a relief to hear.
Yeah.
Because I've,
And also the fact that we've all just been getting on with it.
yeah. How
Like,
cool are we?
So how often have you been in like a meeting or something when
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
You just want to lie under the table.
shit. And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
oh god, it feels like my like womb is falling out
Yes.
of my like vagina right now.
Because it is.
Because it is, yeah, because it is. And you're like, how do I get through? And you're like so hot in your head, and you're like,
yeah.
how do I get through
Through
this
this.
meeting
Yeah.
without like just looking like a crazy person?
Yes,
So I can go
totally.
and buy some fucking ibuprofen.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy. We've
And we
just been
always
dealing
deal.
with
We just
it.
deal,
We
and
just
then like
charge on through.
I know.
Yeah, and I just found reading this book also just helped me understand women more and understand the women in my life and the phases they might be going through. It just allowed me to be far more empathetic.
Yeah,
you know, when
yeah.
people are, and more understanding when your friend is kind of like not feeling that social, but is just running around circles around you while you're on your period, and then she's on a dynamic phase, and she's just like. She's just like, okay, let's go jogging and stuff, and you're just like, we don't get along anymore. What's happened to us?
Oh,
yeah, exactly. Like, how are we gonna ever be friends? You know, so like, it just allowed me to go, okay,
This
right.
is so funny. This is so similar to this podcast that we did recently with Turv Sturker,
Yeah.
which was about personality types, and there's like 4 different like colours that demonstrate what personality type you are,
Yeah.
and certain colours like don't mesh as well with the other colours, and you have to like
Right.
know stuff about other people. And we were like, wouldn't it be great if everyone just like declared their colours up front?
Yeah, that's it.
Like-
wear your colour on your sleeve, on your
Yeah.
chest.
Like if
Yeah,
we could just
your
all walk
phase.
around with just like a little like name sticker, like "Hi, I'm dynamic."
And when you just got this big red sticker when you're in your really bad week.
She's feeling creative.
Yeah, that's it. Creative's one word for it. Yeah, totally. So yeah, I agree. It just allows that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Brilliant. And it would help out the men in our lives as well. Go, not today. I'm not going to ask.
Well.
Yes, exactly.
Even just in an office environment, I feel like if there was a deadline coming up and you were like, fucking hell, Pam.
Yeah.
Calm the fuck down.
Yes, totally.
And Pam was going mental about this deadline. And you're like, what's the big deal?
Yeah,
I
totally.
can totally get this done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And Pam's stressing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, Pam. Creative.
Yeah, exactly.
Dynamic.
Or you could have your boss come out and go, right, who's on their dynamic phase? We really need this job done right now.
Perfect!
And who's on their creative? We need someone to think about we need someone to design a template.
Who's feeling reflective?
Yeah.
You get a week off. You get a week off. You get a week off.
Wouldn't it be wonderful?
What a
why not, I say? If we can work on this linear masculine thing for so many years, why can't we go the other? Why can't we begin to introduce?
This is the future.
I think it's the future, and I stand behind it. And if one person agrees with me listening to this podcast, that's fine enough for me. I might get a couple of emails going, "You're full of shit," but it works for me. So this is and it's my passion. You asked us to pick a passion, and it was either going to be this or cryptic crosswords. So I thought this is slightly less boring than
We
cryptic
should have just
crosswords.
done a 2-week-long podcast of us trying to solve a cryptic
Yes,
crossword.
that would have been awesome.
We've been very meta.
Yes,
almost.
very meta. Yeah. Amazing.
Okay.
Oh.
New life goal. I'll become the Prime Minister of England.
Yeah.
Britain.
Okay.
You do Australia.
Okay. Yep.
And then we'll reconvene and work something out, and this can be the new Western calendar.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Where we all just get 1 week working from home.
Yes. Yep.
1 week doing the intense legwork for the month.
Yes.
1 week. I've forgotten them already, haven't I? I don't know.
1 week creative.
Yeah.
1 week. Yeah. I mean, I just think, I wonder if there are businesses out there where this is already in place. I can just imagine there would be, businesses with women working, and that they've already kind of, they're already open to it. I hope that they're out there somewhere.
Someone should. Your PR, you should get Copperfield to exercise this.
Yes.
You should get them to test it out.
Yeah.
That whole charity could run on this calendar. For a year, and then we'll look at the
productivity.
We'll compare the productivity of 2018 to 2019.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Make it happen. It starts with Copperfield. There we go. You've heard it here first.
Oh, brilliant.
We'll hold you to that.
Is there anything I missed?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we've definitely covered all phases and bases. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you for letting me talk about this stuff.
No, I really
Yeah.
didn't. I really enjoyed it.
You should have seen my manager's face, Phil. He's so wonderful. Phil is a wonderful man. And he goes, okay, so you've got to talk something about that you're passionate about. Something that you're passionate about. Phil, I'm going to talk about my period. And his face just initially dropped, but then went, fantastic. Because he probably knew what phase I was in, which is PMS, so he didn't want to upset me. So yeah.
This one's for you, Phil.
This one's for you, Phil. Thank you.
And we'll end here. Period.
That's great. Well done.
Dreadful stuff.
That's great.
A massive thanks to Stella. That book that she is talking about is called The Optimized Woman by Miranda Gray. Next week, I am talking to Big Kev from Two Door Cinema Club about the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Quite the shift in topic there. You can check out all our previous episodes at talktheline.blog, including other sort of lifestyle chats with Nadine Shah on mental health, Kata Morganson from Mammut on imposter syndrome, and Anne-Marie on body image. You have been listening to Talk the Line. I'm Jen Long. This is a podcast from The Line of Best Fit, produced by Paul Bridgewater with original music by Seams. You can follow us on social media, you can subscribe to this podcast, and you can leave us a nice review if you're feeling very generous. See you next week.